What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of The Good and the Bad, the Ugly. Yes, it is time to review NFL Week number 12. And for a surprisingly on-paper schedule, it wasn't too exciting. Some of those games, we got some very exciting outcomes this week, and we're going to break it all down. So without further ado, let's start the show. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of The Good and the Bad, the Ugly. Yes, it is time to review NFL Week number 12. Man, we are just rolling along. I can't believe it. The season's almost over. It feels like just yesterday that we're just getting started. And so much has transpired in between then and now. And man, oh man. But we got Week 12 to break down. Hi, how's it going? I'm Jacob Cutler, one half of the Sports Guys. And as always, joining me, he's the other half of the Sports Guys. He had a rough week, but he is none other than Mr. Brandon Sullivan. Brandon, aside from everything, how you doing? Happy Thanksgiving, because, it's going to be Thanksgiving Eve when people see this, but happy Thanksgiving. How's everything going?
Yeah, no, happy Thanksgiving to you too, Jake. Thank you. Pretty checked out from football, not really upset. I don't really have too many emotions involved anymore, so I'm actually pretty good.
Yeah, definitely an injury. It's just one of those seasons. Injuries have consumed the Niners, unfortunately. But such is life. There's always another year. So we'll see what happens. It's not over yet. It's definitely not over yet, but there's more to come. But it's an uphill battle for both of our teams this year. It is a straight uphill battle for our teams this year. Not making it easy on us. Not making it easy on us at all. Let's look at how we did last week. Let's put it up on the screen. Yes, for yourself, we had mediocre weeks, but for yourself, 8-5, 1-0 on your guaranteed victory with the Chiefs pulling it out against, of all teams, the Carolina Panthers. We thought that was going to be an absolute blowout, and the Panthers, the resurgence of Bryce Young, Alabama Young, as they call him now, has entered the NFL. That him sitting him down might have been the best thing for him in his career, it looks like, because he was balling against the Chiefs. For myself, 7-6, 1-0, my guaranteed victory. We had that double guaranteed victory last week with the Chiefs. Overall for the season, that puts us at, for yourself, 114-65, 8-4 on your guaranteed victories. For myself, 107-72, 10-2 on my guaranteed victories. Solid years all the way around. Let's wipe those off the screen and let's get into some sports talk. So, I know you hate them, and I know you think they're frauds, but the Philadelphia Eagles came out swinging against the Los Angeles Rams. Saquon Barkley amassing almost, I think, over 300 total yards, 2 70-yard TD runs. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely putting the New York Football Giants to shame. Embarrassing Joel Schoen. Just an absolute botch. An absolute botch on the New York Football Giants' part. Saquon Barkley throwing his hat in the ring for NFL MVP. He's on track, it looks like, to actually catch and possibly break Emmitt Smith's record, which is crazy if he can keep it going. That Eagles team, man, oh man. Ever since the beginning of the season, right? They had that little rough start. They've been on fire. The emergence of Saquon Barkley has allowed Jalen Hurts to perform at a much higher level. I believe it's 6 touchdowns of over 20 plus yards this year, which I believe is a career high for him. He is on pace to have one of his best season in completion percentages. The receivers are getting a lot more open. The receivers are getting a lot more catchable balls, I guess you could say. No Diddy, no pause right there. But they're getting a lot more easy. They're getting a lot more easier passes to catch. So, my friend, with Saquon Barkley's performance on Sunday Night Football, what do you think? give me your overall thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles. Give me some thoughts on Saquon Barkley. Is he 1B at this point for MVP, right behind Josh Allen? Where do you got him in your MVP ladder? And just give some overall thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles so far in the season.
I mean, yeah, they're playing decent, but I look back at their opponents: see Cleveland, New York Giants, Bengals struggling this year, Jacksonville struggling this year, Dallas struggling this year. The only one where it's like, okay, that was a decent win was against Washington, but they still almost lost that game, and the Rams are struggling this year. So I look at they barely beat Green Bay week 1. New Orleans struggling this year, Cleveland struggling this year, New York Giants struggling this year, Cincinnati struggling this year, Jacksonville struggling this year, Dallas struggling this year, Washington, the only team that's not struggling, has a rookie quarterback, so I'll give them that win. The LA Rams are struggling this year. So almost every single one of their who have they played is the question for me. And I know they say that against the Niners last year with and that's what people are going to ask is who have they played? And no, I don't think that Saquon Barkley is MVP. And I need to see more. I need to see them beat Baltimore. I need to see them beat a team like the Lions. I need to see them win a big time game to convince me of something like that. I think their defense is more of the MVP than Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
Saquon Barkley is playing well. He's one of the, he's playing one of the best, if not one of the best running backs in the league, but I just can't even put him close to Josh Allen, because if you take Saquon Barkley off of that team, I still think, 9-2, maybe they're 7-5, maybe they're 8-4, maybe they're 8-3 because their defense has been playing well and they've been playing a bunch of teams that are struggling. So, in my opinion, no. I think that Jared Goff and Josh Allen are the MVPs right now. I can't put him in the top 2. And so we're gonna have to wait and see. They got a big game next week. That's gonna be a let us know game. Tell us all. That's gonna be a tell-all game, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty spot on a lot of the times with my intuition when it comes to a lot of these teams. When I'm not being biased about my own team or biased about the Seahawks, like when no emotions are really too involved, I can look at a team and say, hey, like, honestly, I'm not convinced. And so if they can win next week, then, I think we can have more of a discussion about that. But as we stand right now, I still think they're paper tigers.
Okay. I like it. Yeah. It's interesting. They're definitely playing at a high level right now. They are one of those teams that, I kind of, I understand where you're coming from. They are just one of those teams that you don't have full confidence in just yet. You don't really have full confidence in them just yet. But, with the way that he is playing and the way that excuse me, the point that was brought up that I was looking at somewhere this morning was that, the way that Saquon is playing at this current stage, it is very impressive because, as we know, if you're an NFL fan, that NFL MVP award, I mean, they should change it to the quarterback, the most valuable quarterback award, because that's basically all it goes to. It goes to quarterbacks, since you can't touch them anymore, since receivers, you can't really do much with receivers and things like that.
It is the most important position in all sports.
It is fair enough. And it's gotten more important, right? As the rules have changed, right? The less you can contact them, the less you can touch them, the less you can hit them. Back in the 90s, right? You had running backs who were up in that MVP conversation, right? Jerry Rice, right? How many MVPs did Jerry Rice win? Because back in the day, right, he was the best player on the San Francisco 49ers, even though you had Joe Montana there slinging passes. So, I mean, how many MVPs does Jerry Rice have? Is it 3, 4?
I'm going to say 3.
3? Let's do a quick Wikipedia search here. Jerry Rice. Wikipedia, boom, come on, boom. He has.
Oh, I guess he doesn't. I guess I was thinking of Super Bowl MVP.
He does, yeah, you're right. He only has 1 Super Bowl MVP. So even back then, the greatest.
Okay, it was. We were thinking of Offensive Player of the Year. That's what we were thinking of.
Okay, he had 2. Okay, 2 Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, you're not going to get it as a.
But even back then,
non-quarterback.
Yeah, even back then, so it's hard. It's hard to win it as a position player. So, I mean, yeah, even Jerry Rice. So it is hard to win as a position player. But what my point is, what's most impressive about what Saquon Barkley is doing is even with all the adjustments that the NFL has made, the rule changes they have made to protect quarterbacks, because like Brandon said, they are the most valuable position in the sport, right? And it's been proven.
And
like
I think the last person to win the MVP, a non-quarterback, was a running back. It was Adrian Peterson. So,
there we go. And what do you know what year that was?
2012.
2012. Okay. Yeah. So 2012, right? And
LT won it in 06.
So there we go. So as far as position players go, the last two position players have been running backs. So it's not like it's completely out of the realm of possibility. Now you have to have like a stratospheric what is called season, like Adrian Peterson did in 2012 and like LT did when he won, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for Saquon Barkley. So I can see your points where it's, Jared Goff has a pretty good lead in that MVP race right now, just with kind of what he's been dealt with, what he's playing with. And if you took Jared Goff off the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they would quickly fall to 9. They would fall to 9-8. Like they would not win many games after that once he got taken out. So I definitely hear that. And same thing with Jared Goff. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I'm very impressed, though, with Saquon Barkley so far. Shame on the New York Giants. Just horrible. Absolutely horrible managing by I can't even call ownership because Mara was devastated. But horrible management by the New York Giants. And speaking of the New York Football Giants, let's talk about the New York football teams becoming the dumpster fires of the NFL. I mean, I don't think we saw this coming for the Jets. I didn't see this coming for the Jets. At least I can say that. The Giants.
I felt it was. I felt with the Jets that it was inevitable.
Okay.
That it was. I just feel like the Jets is one of those teams where it's just they've had such bad history of bad luck and bad decisions. It's going back to Vinny Testaverde, going back to my childhood, going back to our childhood. They've always like found a way to mess it up, with from Mark Sanchez to just like they show little flashes here and there, but they always find a way to screw it up.
Yeah, and luckily, the Jets were on bye this week, so they couldn't be the talk of the town. But still, New York, week after week, still knows how to make their way into the headlines. Let's quickly listen to what Malik Neighbors had to say.
How disappointed are you?
Very.
What are you most disappointed about?
I mean, shit's over, man. I'm tired of going out there and losing. Like, it's just that. I mean, I don't know, bro. Go out there first, second quarter, don't get the ball, start getting targets at the end. I mean, can't do nothing. Start getting the ball when it's 30-0. What you want me to do?
Why in the first half are they not looking at you?
I don't know. Talk to Dave about that. Talk to Dave.
Did you say something to the coaches at halftime?
I mean, they know. They come up to me, ask me what plays I want. That was that. I mean, I don't know, man.
So the biggest takeaway that I get from that is that we're not even through his rookie season, and he is already fed up with this team. I mean, he goes on to say in that interview that it's not DJ, right? Referring to Daniel Jones. It wasn't DJ. You could have kept DJ and still performed that poorly. But you threw out Tommy DeVito. I was going to say Danny DeVito. You threw out Tommy DeVito. And I mean, you screw over Drew Lock. You release Daniel Jones because you're afraid of this injury nonsense and you don't want to pay him this ungodly amount of money that you really shouldn't pay him. You tarnish that relationship. Brent and I were saying it. I mean, arguably the best running back in the NFL currently walk for nothing. You tell him to go see if you can find a better deal, and he does. Not only does he find a better deal, he finds a better deal within the division. So now you're going to see him 2 times a year. Then we just heard the rookie wide receiver, who is a stud, who is an absolute stud. I mean, he doesn't even know what the hell's going on. He's not getting targeted until the third quarter, until the second half. So I guess my overarching question is, with the Jets, what changes? What changes need to come to the Jets? And then we'll turn to the Giants. But what changes do you see that need to come to the Jets? Is Aaron Rodgers the guy? Does he need to go? Coaching? What changes do you need to see?
I think regardless of if he's the guy or not, he's going to go because he doesn't want to play there. I don't even know what needs to be done with the Jets. I don't even know where to begin. So with the Jets, it's like, I just feel like you just got to scrap everything and start from the beginning again and just try to build from the ground up. And you need to try to find your guy as far as who is your coach. What's the identity going to be? I mean, you started the year with Robert Saleh, and I don't know if he necessarily needed to go. I knew it was a matter of time. I told you that from the get-go, that Robert Saleh was unfortunately going to be let go at some point because the Jets are not a good franchise. So I thought I mean, good for him for elevating his job and going somewhere and having the cojones to do that, unlike Spagnuolo and the Chiefs and riding the gravy train. Like, he was willing to actually go and try to coach and win. And so unfortunately it resulted in his demise as a coach, and we're going to have to see what happens with him, but that's what they need to do, is they need to start with a new GM. They need to, I don't know, maybe potentially sell the team. I just feel like the Jets are one of the biggest jokes in the NFL. I put them right next to the Jaguars. They're just pathetic. They are just absolutely pathetic. I can't see this team getting to the Super Bowl. I mean, I haven't seen them in my Super Bowl in my entire life. So you need to get rid of your GM. You need to really, really put your investment into a coach, and you need to give it time to develop. I just feel like Saleh didn't have time. I mean, we gave Shanahan, a little bit of time there to develop. It wasn't just overnight. It took 3 years. And so that's how I feel with them. So that's where you got to start. And then you got to get a good scouting team for drafting, because they haven't drafted well. I mean, can you tell me any of the Jets players that they drafted well besides Sauce Gardner? I really can't think of.
He's playing terribly this season. He's having a horrible year.
That comes down to coaching. You got to get a new secondary coach. You got to get a new defensive line coach, a new offensive line coach. You need to have, they have all kinds of different specialty jobs and quality control and, all these different, I just feel like completely scrap Overhaul. And I don't know if you need to get your own stadium somewhere to get out of MetLife, and I don't know, but I just think that whole situation is awful.
Yeah, the funniest thing I've heard about the explanation for the Jets season, and I know you'll find this funny, is this is Aaron Rodgers' way at getting back for Woody Johnson for the vaccine. If you don't know who Woody Johnson is, he's the owner of Johnson & Johnson, right? Johnson & Johnson, famously the one shot. Aaron Rodgers, heavily against the vaccine, heavily against especially the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So this is people on the internet's conspiracy theory about why Aaron Rodgers is playing so terribly, because he's actually trying to take down Woody Johnson and the New York Football Jets because of what he did with the vaccine. But regardless, I agree. I don't think Aaron Rodgers will be there next year. I mean, from what I've seen from Aaron, I think he should retire. I think he's
I don't. I personally think he should go to the Minnesota Vikings. I really do. Because they the Brett Favre route. The Vikings and that with the whole bounty gate honestly should have gone to the Super Bowl that year and potentially been Super Bowl champion. It should have been Colts Vikings, not Colts Saints. So, and I feel like there were some missed calls and things like that. And I don't know if Hurricane Katrina was, I don't want to get into conspiracy theory, but I do feel like there were some missed calls in that game. There was some roughing the passer stuff. There were some things that happened in that game where with the bounty gate and things where I do feel that the Vikings got the short end of the stick. And I do think that I just feel like I do feel like Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to go out like this. I feel like he does not want to go out at the end of his career and look back and say, could I have done more? And if he goes to the Vikings, he gets to stick it to the Packers twice a year. So I gotta say, I think Sam Darnold's not the answer. I personally think it's only a matter of time whether they fold at the end of the season, or if there's, hopefully they can. I like Sam Darnold. Hopefully they can win the Super Bowl. I mean, I'd love to see that for the Vikings, but me and you have always had that kind of, we just feel like at some point Sammy D is not going to be able to do it. And I don't think Sam Darnold's going to be back next year. And I think with JJ McCarthy getting injured, I don't think he's going to be a go. I think he needs to sit behind, like Love did, sit behind a good quarterback. So give me Aaron Rodgers to the Vikings. I really do think that if I was a betting man, I would think that's happening.
I love it. Yeah, that's a very interesting take there. I mean, he does make sense on that team. I mean, Justin Jefferson is definitely a young Devontae Adams, so to speak.
Yeah.
So he definitely, I could see it. I could see it, which would be hilarious if he took the Brett Favre path. And that would just mean that Jordan Love has to go to the Jets and the Vikings. So I mean, man, oh man, very interesting take there. For the Giants, I mean, I think it's much of the same as what you said. I think it's a complete overhaul of everybody in the building. I think Brian Dable is going to be gone. I think he will be very like a hot commodity. I think people will go after Brian Dable because he's a proven good coach. But I think the Giants need a complete overhaul. Yeah, I think they need to. And honestly, yeah, they need to clean house. And honestly, you might even see what you can get from Malik Neighbors at this point, just because you just need to completely rebuild. And the last thing you need is a young stud wide receiver just wasting away and just causing problems for your locker room. Not bought into the team, not bought into the mission, not bought into the vision. That's the last thing that the New York Giants need. So, even looking at that, if you're going to give away Saquon Barkley, might as well just give away Malik Neighbors at this point too, because you just make bad decisions. That's essentially what your team does. You make bad decisions. So make one more bad decision before you turn things around. But that bad decision could turn out to be a very good decision in the long run, depending on what you would be able to get back for Malik Neighbors. But yeah, the Giants, I think, are much of the same. An absolute complete overhaul. And unfortunately, unlike them, they are not solidified at that quarterback position at all. Aaron may come back, but oh man, do they have a ton of work to do this offseason. An absolute ton. And who's going to want to go there? Last thing I'll touch on is who's going to want to go to the New York Football Giants after watching this. I wouldn't. I would not. So, New York Jets, New York Football Giants. New York is burning currently. I mean, yeah, it's a disaster. We can just call it a straight disaster. And then lastly, we had some upsets this week. Let's turn to the teams that worked hard this past week, got the job done. What upset was the most impressive to you? Let me pull it up here. We had I think it was 3 or 4. Yeah, I think we had 3 or 4. We had we had the Browns over the Steelers, which was the funnest game of this entire season. Our first snow game. Jameis Winston, famous Jameis, baby. I mean, the most unintentional, hilarious human being in the NFL. I mean, I don't know how you cannot love this man. He is the greatest. And I hope to God he moves to the booth after, because he is like Bill Walton Jr. He just would say the most outlandish, outrageous stuff.
I got to stop you there though, because there was a big scandal with him in college, and
that's true.
I personally, I don't have any tolerance for that. So as far as, yeah, I mean, he's kind of funny, but at the end of the day, Jake, the guy was, it's pretty apparent that there was some really, really bad things that happened. And I think people need to not overlook that, because there's a whole documentary about it. The Florida police got involved and essentially basically, so that he could play in the championship game, kind of scrapped all that. And I'm sorry, I completely think that he is not a good person. So it's similar to Sean Watson with me and him. Like I don't mess with him at all.
All right. Well, there you go. Right. And the things at Florida State, well, there's a lot of things at Florida State with the crab legs and all that stuff. All that stuff happened at Florida State. That's yeah. And everybody makes mistakes. Everybody messes up. Especially with that documentary with Jameis Winston and all that stuff.
You just don't make that kind of mistake, though. In my opinion, the dogfighting with Michael Vick, like being involved in going to prison and doing your time, and That's a type of mistake that I can, kind of look and be like, okay, like he didn't necessarily, orchestrate everything. He was aware of things. He went to prison. He did his time. He came back. He shined. With this type of situation, I just don't have any remorse with that type of stuff. When it comes to
there wasn't any
stance,
punishment.
I'm very conservative with that type of stuff. I don't have remorse.
Yeah, there wasn't any punishment. That's really what it was.
Yeah, that's what pisses me off.
Yeah. And then the Cowboys upsetting the Commanders, and the Commanders are starting to fall off. The wheels are starting to fall off slightly for the Commanders. And then we have the Titans. Somehow, some way, Will Levis. I don't know how he did it, but the Texans dropping a game to the Tennessee Titans, their divisional foe. And then, it wasn't so much an upset, but it was kind of surprising in the sense that I didn't think it was going to be that bad. But the Packers over the Niners, the Niners could not literally do anything at all. They couldn't do anything. And I don't understand why these teams do not invest in backup quarterbacks. It blows my mind. Your starting quarterback is going to get injured. That's just the fact of life. Your starting quarterback is going to get injured. Invest in backup quarterbacks. Invest in backup quarterbacks. The Packer guy said, there's no excuses, right? Their guy was out and Malik Willis came in and won 3 games. There's no excuses. Invest in a backup quarterback. It's not hard. It is not hard at all. What was the most surprising for you? The Browns, the Cowboys, the Titans, or the Packers?
Well, to kind of expand off what you're saying as far as the backup quarterback, I do agree, but Brandon Allen shouldn't have been the one starting. It should have been Josh Dobbs. I do think that.
I agree.
He's a good enough backup quarterback. There's not a lot of availability with backup quarterbacks because here's my thing as far as Josh Dobbs is about as good as you can get because if you're a really good backup quarterback, chances are there's 32 teams you're going to become a starter at some point like Sam Darnold. So we did lose Sam Darnold, unfortunately. But we replaced him with Josh Dobbs, and then now we're starting Brandon Allen with a broken finger. It doesn't make any sense. So I knew before that game started, it wasn't really necessarily an upset to me. 38-10, I fully expected us to lose that game once I found out that Brandon Allen had a freaking broken finger. Like, you just, what are you going to do? And then there were some late game time decision injury where you were just like, okay, this guy's not playing. You're gonna lose that game. So I did think that we were gonna get smacked in the mouth, and we did. And so what can you do? And Green Bay wanted revenge.
I know what you can do.
What is that?
Hello? Is this Danny Dimes? I heard you just got released by one of the worst franchises in the NFL. Do you want to come over to a team that's absolutely dominated the past few years and possibly, maybe not guaranteed, but possibly revitalize your career? How would you feel if they went out and got Danny?
Good call.
How good would you feel? How would you feel?
I would feel good about that because now you have as good of a backup quarterback as you can get. As far as until Brock, we don't know what's going on with Brock. Our franchise quarterback is hurt. We don't know what's going on with him. We don't know if the extent of the shoulder injury.
And it sounds like he's going to be out next week too.
Do we shut him down for the season? If you go 5-7, you shut him down. Probably not, because I think our division sucks.
As a competitor,
you can't. But as far as going back to the upsets, Steelers, I've never been too convinced with them. So the Browns upsetting them in a snow game, that was cool to see. Because the game was awesome to watch, obviously, with all the snow. We like that. All hate aside with Jameis Winston, as far as I don't respect him off the field. On the field, he played pretty well. They were able to pull that off. So I wasn't too surprised with that one. All 3 of these games had in common was they were divisional games, right? You had the Browns and the Steelers, and then you had the Commanders and the Cowboys, and then you had the Texans and the Titans. I was going to say it was a tie between the Cowboys and Commanders and Texans and Titans for me. I'm going to give the edge to the Cowboys. I was more surprised that the Cowboys beat the Commanders. I think that was the most surprising one to me because the Cowboys are horrible this year, like absolutely horrible. Titans are too, but the Texans have been a little flaky this year. They've lost some games where I'm like, they've blown some leads. I haven't seen that too much with the Commanders. They've been very competitive. So for the Cowboys to be able to beat them, yeah, that one surprised me the most, Jake.
May have saved Mike McCarthy's job, unfortunately, but
I agree.
We'll see what happens there. Yeah, I think most surprising to me, I think was actually the Texans game, because when I was looking at, I thought I was under the impression the Texans won. I guess I didn't see the end score of that. I guess I didn't see the ending of that game, but yeah, I was under the impression the Texans won. And then when I was filling out our Google Sheets where I keep all the scores and everything like that, and I look and I see it, I'm like, oh, the Titans won? What the hell? So I did pay attention more to the Cowboys game. So I was aware of what happened there. I mean, Turpin with one of the most electric returns you'll ever see. And then you had and then I mean the big Lauren pass, and then you had the drama with the miss PAT. I mean, it was crazy. That was an absolutely crazy game. Like you said, you mentioned a good point. They're all divisional games. So yeah, it was an interesting week. It was an interesting week, and some divisional opponents, I mean, they did what they needed to do. They handed some of these teams some losses that really, really can't take some losses at this point. They got to keep winning. And you can't be losing. You can't be losing to these teams. Texans can't be losing to the Titans. Commanders can't be losing to this Cowboys. The snow game aside, and the injuries aside for the San Francisco 49ers. But those other two games, you can't lose those games. You cannot lose those games. All right, Brandon, bring us home. Best and worst performer of week number 12.
Well, I will give credit where credit is due. Saquon Barkley, I do believe, was the top performer this week. Obviously, just a monster game, just a monster game for him. And, just running all over the field. And obviously we saw that crazy hurdle a couple weeks back. But anytime the Rams lose, anytime you beat a team like the Rams or the Seahawks, for me, obviously I can't root for those two teams. I find myself rooting for the Cardinals just because they're kind of a cool team. But as far as the Rams, I'm glad they beat the Rams. I don't want the Rams in the mix at all. I know you don't either after that Super Bowl. So I gotta give it to your guy, Saquon Barkley. Just complete, utter, pure domination. And worst performer, we're just gonna go with the New York Giants. I mean, just abysmal performance. Back-to-back teams. I like it. Just an abysmal performance. It couldn't have been any worse than what we saw. Just completely, just like I said, clean. Just clean. Are we gonna clean house or what?
Yeah, I like it. Saquon Barkley, best performer. I like that. I can definitely agree with that. And yeah,
do it.
And yeah, I mean, worst performance. I can get down with that. I can get down with the New York Giants. I can get down with that.
I mean, Malik Neighbors, I mean, come on, that whole situation. I mean, could it have gotten any worse? I don't know if I've seen a worse performance.
Oh, I mean, the team gave up. The team has given up. I should say that.
The team is just completely done. Yeah. I mean,
they're done. That's going to do it. That is going to do it for this edition of The Good and the Bad, the Ugly. Yes, we are done with NFL week number 12. We are on to NFL week number 13, that way, whichever way. We're on to NFL week number 13. We got some epic matchups coming up for you. Brendan, any last words for the people?
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I hope everybody, I know we don't have too many entertaining games this year, but I hope everybody has safe travels. Hopefully you enjoy, the games on Thursday, the Black Friday game, and also games coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there. We're very thankful for you. We're very thankful for that you're tuning in. We appreciate it. Safe travels to all of you out there. I am Jacob Cutler, one half of the Sports Guys. He is Brandon Sullivan, the other half of the Sports Guys. And until our picks episode, happy Thanksgiving. Have a great day. Have a good, safe travels. Enjoy the food. And we will see you for our picks episode. Brandon and Jake, we're out.